Hello, peaches. How is everybody doing? Okay. I hope you're doing well. I'm faring pretty greatly, but today we're gonna be talking about binders and binding and safe ways to do it and where you can get cool stuff to do it, and kind of the rules of binding. I've personally been binding for 2 to 3 years now. So I'd like to think I know a little bit about it, and there's like a lot of stuff about binders out there, but I also have some questions from Instagram that I put a poll up forever ago asking you guys what you wanted to know. So I'm gonna start with the questions and then I will get to the information part of it later on in the video, so stay tuned. So the first question I got was, where can I actually buy a binder in person and not online? Very good question. I bought my binders from a sex shop. Very weird, yes. But I'm from the GTA area, and if you don't know where that is, like, that's around Toronto in Ontario in Canada. I am a Canadian-based YouTuber. So I went to a sex shop called Good For Her in Toronto, and I bought my 2 Underworks binders from there. So you can go to try sex shops in your area. It can be very awkward. I went with my mom. It was very, very awkward and weird, but you can try the binders on and it is a big plus. So yeah, a lot of sex shops, weirdly enough, have binders. Is binding uncomfortable? I want to cosplay a male, but I want to be able to move without it hurting. So binding isn't comfortable, obviously, because you are putting a lot of pressure on your chest to bind. Depending on your chest size, it could also matter. And if you buy the wrong size binder, it can hurt a lot. So always be careful to follow sizing charts when you're buying a binder. It isn't comfortable. It really isn't. But it's not uncomfortable to the point where the second I put a binder on, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I have to spend the rest of my day in this. So, but again, I'm also used to it. So it may be uncomfortable for somebody who is like binding for the very first time. A lot of people, there's a lot of questions about binding without a binder, and I am gonna tell you right now, if that's what you're here for, I will not tell you how to bind without a binder. You can find it online, but I highly, highly, highly suggest you don't. Like, please, big, just giant disclaimer, do not bind without a binder, because you can screw up your chest so badly. Like, you can damage yourself for life. You can rip your chest tissue. There's so much that could go wrong if you bind without a binder, if you bind in any unsafe way. So please, pretty please, do not try to bind without a binder. I can understand if you're binding because you're trans and it's really hard. Hi, I'm trans. I totally 100% understand you right now, but you can't. Like, you could even screw up your chest to the point where you can't get top surgery if you bind without a binder. So in the long run, it's better to just buy a binder, and I know some of you aren't out yet and it's not safe, and I totally respect that, but it's really not okay to try and bind without a binder. So end of disclaimer. I'm not gonna yell at you about it anymore, but you can't bind without a binder. Don't. Someone asked me what is the longest time I've worn a binder, and I've worn a binder for 12 hours or longer, 14 hours. I've worn a binder for at least 12 to 14 hours before. I don't suggest you do that, because the max amount of time you're supposed to wear a binder is 8 hours. And I didn't do it on purpose. Like, I try to take off my binder the second I get home, because that stuff hurts. When you first start binding, I only suggest you work your way up to hours you're comfortable. So if you first get your binder in the mail, or you first get your binder and you bring it home, I suggest you only wear it for 1 to 2 hours. Then the next day or the next week, you work your way up to 8 hours. And then I highly suggest you don't go past that on purpose. I get it, life gets in the way. That's why I've worn my binder for longer than 14 hours before, because life got in the way and I can't get home. I refuse to take off my binder in public. If that is something you're comfortable with, I highly suggest carrying like a sports bra with you. I hate calling it that, but you gotta, I don't know what else to, I call them sports thingies, but I don't think you would know what it was. But I highly suggest, if you are comfortable taking off your binder in public, or for cosplayers who are cis and are binding because they are cosplaying a male character, I highly suggest carrying a extra sports bra or bra with you in case things get a little uncomfy, so you have that alternative to kind of give your chest a rest. But for trans folk who are binding and they can't take off their binder, I get you, but just try to work your way up to it. Train your body so it doesn't hurt as much in the beginning. I can't afford a binder, what's the next best thing? There is nothing. Yeah, a lot of you were asking about money, and I'm going to talk about cheap alternatives. So there's a place online called gendergear.ca. It's Canada-based, so I'm sorry if you're not a Canadian. I'm sure there might be an alternative for Americans. I will try to find it, and if I do find it, it'll be in the link in the description below. But there's this website called gendergear.ca. They were founded in 1997 and is a worker-owned cooperative located in Ontario. And they have be able to wear, read, and use all the stuff we stock. We only carry products we truly love. I'm just reading their bio, I'm sorry. These are all screenshots. And I do if I'm not happy with the result of my binder. So this actually happened to me. So when I first started binding, I was using an Amazon binder, and that is very not cool. Do not just go onto Amazon, search up chest binders, and grab the cheapest one you can find, because that's what I did, and I ended up like really screwing up my ribs. So what I did was I bought a binder off of Amazon, and it was $8 because I wanted it for cosplay. I did not know I was trans yet, so yeah. And what happened was the binder itself was made out of cotton, and then it had a really thick elastic. It was kind of like a tensor bandage, but very like corded elastic. And it went around this area. So what happened was the cotton fabric of the binder straps wore out, and the binder started to stretch down, and the elastic would bunch up and put even more pressure on my ribs than it was already. So every day around the same time, maybe I'd say around 2 to 3 p.m., I would get really, really bad rib pain, and I never knew why. Cole, it was your binder. I suggest binding from reputable places, and I'm gonna tell you some of those right now. So, there's 2 big ones right now that I trust, and that is GC2B and Underworks. So, GC2B is actually on the pricier side of binders because they're so well known and a lot of people trust them, and like, cool for you. I personally do not like GC2B, they don't work for me. I prefer Underworks, and I'm gonna go into that. So, this is my Underworks binder. Sorry, it's a little tangled. Okay, so this is my Underworks binder. I've been using it for 2 years now. It's very faded, and I put it in the wash too many times, and I should probably get a new one soon, and I will. But this is what an Underworks binder looks like. It is made out of kind of really heavy-duty nylon. Like, that's the best way I can explain it. Like, very, very heavy-duty nylon. It feels really uncomfortable, but honestly, you don't even notice it. You do have to break in these binders because at the back here, I have like some fat that like likes to peek out, and it rubbed against that for the first few days I had the binder, and it kind of irritated me a bit. But other than that, these binders are great for long term. I'm wearing one right now. They come in only skin colors, which is fine. I mean, I don't know why you'd be like, oh, I can't get my binder in fuchsia pink, then I don't want it. So yes, I find them very reputable. And online, you can buy them online and in sex shops. It just depends on what kind of selection they have. But as of a couple days ago, you can get a Underworks tri-top binder, which is, it just goes down to your ribs, for binder for $30 USD. I don't know why I didn't do the Canadian one, but you can get Underworks binder for $30 USD, so that would probably be like 36 or 40 Canadian. And next up is GC2B. So I have two GC2B binders. They are made out of like a swimsuit material is the best way I can kind of explain it. This one was a gift from my partner at the time because they saw I was wearing an Amazon binder and they wanted to put that to an end, which is very nice of them. Thank you very much. So yeah, they got me the blue one. And this binder, I loved it at first. Like, it was my first binder and I could go a whole day without being in pain, so that was ideal. The Underworks, the GC2B binders are quite shorter than the Underworks. This end right here comes just above my ribs, or it doesn't put a lot of pressure on my ribs, so I usually use these binders for like working out or stuff like that. I just find that GC2B does not bind as well as Underworks. Underworks is a very heavy duty binder. It binds my chest flatter than GC2B. That's why I like it so much better. But yeah, I just find these stretch out much quicker than Underworks, and that is just my personal thing. Everyone else I know swears by GC2B. They love it. It lasts for them, but just for me, my personal way that I like my chest to look does not work for me for GC2B. And so I had this one for a while, and then I needed another one, so I got a red one because I was Klance trash at the time, and I wanted a red and a blue binder. So, yeah. I mean, they're okay. They just don't bind the way that I prefer. And GC2Bs are $43.12 on their website. So Underworks are cheaper, but yeah, so yeah. That's what I have to say about binding. I hope I covered everything. If I didn't, drop it in the comments below. I'll be hanging out there with you guys if you have any other questions unanswered. If you need more resources, you can also follow me on Instagram. I have many Instagrams. I have my cosplay, which is coleslaw.cos, and I also have my photography account, which is coles.pics_, I believe. And if I'm wrong, I will check that out and fix it. And that's all. Thanks for joining me. I'm sorry if this wasn't as informal as it should have been. Again, I'll be in the comments below if you need anything, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Thanks for dropping by, and stay peachy, peaches. Bye.